Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report, the official energy drink report.com. Happy Friday to everybody. This is a special Friday edition as we are going to recap day one of the Bucs rookie minicamp. We got to speak to some players, which will kind of just give overall thoughts, details about some of the players we spoke to, and we got to see the Bucs draft class and undrafted free agents practice as well, which is always fun to see, especially when some of the highlight players made highlight plays. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joining with me is the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR Scott Reynolds. And Scott, even though there is no physicality, even though only a handful of players will make this team, still always great to watch some football.
Yeah, it really is. Not a fan of the heat and humidity already. It seems like.
No shade either. Not going to complain too much because grateful to watch football.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just like standing out there melting. I may have to bring a hat to the next practice.
Yeah. All of a sudden, summer is here in Florida. It's like I remember during draft weekend, it was so nice, right? It was just breezy and nice, 80 degrees. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, boom, welcome to Florida. But it's always a good thing for the rookies to get acclimated to this climate down here because it is a tropical climate. There's a lot of heat, a lot of humidity, and it's only going to get hotter, right? I mean, we're just in the early part of May here. We have not reached training camp in late July, August, where it can be an inferno down here, especially if you're not used to the humidity, which can be kind of stifling. So always good, I think, for the rookie class to come in, get a taste of what training camp is going to be like. There have been some years, Matt, where it's been overcast. It's been a little breezy.
Yeah.
It's not bad. And then the players come back in OTAs, and it's a shock to their system when summer kicks in and it gets a little warmer.
I mean, we've seen practices. I can't remember if it was like early training camp or OTAs or whatever. I mean, we've seen guys blowing chunks, going up the boogie at times during these practices. So, there's only so many ways you can combat this type of climate and area. And really the only way to go about it is actually practicing in it and just kind of ingratiating yourself to it. I think also I find it so odd in general. Like, yes, you're practicing in Florida. It's scorching hot, all this stuff. But then, you get to November, December, and it's like, all right, well, now the heat isn't as bad, but, makes you tougher overall. So we'll see if it toughens up these Bucs players, especially a lot of them coming from all different facets of the world, really, all to Tampa Bay, and we'll see how they deal with it.
Yeah, and certainly it usually affects the bigger guys first, but I think by and large, a lot of these guys were in shape. The combine, the pro day. I mean, it keeps these guys kind of raring to go. And we got our first look at some of these offensive linemen today. Graham Barton, the first pick by the Buccaneers at number 26, and then Elijah Klein, who's a real character. I mean, he's a guy that I think is going to be a really good interview. He's very outspoken. It's funny, Cliff Welch, our director of photography at Pewter Report, longtime director of photography, he likes to do a funny little thing where he brings like a deflated football and tries to get some personality pictures. Some end up being better than others. I mean, like Yaya Diaby's last year. I mean, that's about as good as it gets, right?
Classic photo.
Classic photo. That's typical Yaya Diaby. He is a friendly, gregarious guy, great personality. We've had him on the show, friend of the program, a couple times now. And so he got it. Like, that's kind of what Cliff is going for. He kind of gives them minimal direction, and it's always fun to see what direction these guys head into. So Cliff was giving us the pictures from today's shoot, and some of the guys, like, for example, Graham Barton says, hey man, I have like no personality. And so you can see Graham Barton just kind of holding up the deflated football with a big smile on his face. Meanwhile, Elijah Klein, who was standing right next to Barton when he was out there for Cliff's photo shoot, says, no personality. Well, I got plenty of personality, dude. So he just decided to wear his deflated football as a hat. And you need guys like this. You need guys to keep it light, that are outgoing. They're great for the locker room, and you can kind of see why. And I kind of dove into this in today's SR's Fab Five, how the Buccaneers are looking for character, right? It's an important thing. It's one of the main reasons why the Buccaneers were able to turn a 4-7 season in late November around into a 9-8 finish and a playoff berth, a playoff win, and NFC South championship, because the Buccaneers have guys that don't run from the fight. They're fighters. They stay together. They're good teammates. They have high character. They have resolve. Everything in Jason Light's "I am that man" principles. All 5 of those intrinsic qualities.
Yes.
A lot of these guys possess. And when you say character, I mean, Elijah Klein is a character. He walks to the tune of a different drummer, and it's kind of cool to see. I mean, he's a 6th-round pick who is, I think, going to be in the mix for this left guard job. He's not backing down, and he looks the part. He's a big dude.
We're learning quickly that Elijah Klein is going to be a fun guy, because, Scott, you were in the other room, and I was having a conversation with Cliff, our photographer, who you just mentioned, and he said, I just did the photo shoot. He said, Scott guessed it right, and he said, guess who you think was, like, the goofiest one, the one that, like, made it the funniest. And I said, Elijah Klein. He said, Scott guessed the same thing. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because you obviously see it with the photos and everything. And we spoke to him today. So a couple of the rookies did a press conference before practice. It was Bucky Irving, Jaylen McMillan, Elijah Klein, and Tyke Smith, and Chris Braswell as well. Right. We'll get all the other rookies and a couple of undrafted free agents, I believe, tomorrow. But anyway, so Klein was thoughtful and gave good answers and things like that. But then also in some of his answers, he was like, shout out to my college coach. I love you. I hope you're watching this. I asked him a question because it's clear the Bucs they're putting an emphasis on improving the run game. Again, the previous 2 seasons, you go Graham Barton round 1. There's an emphasis on getting better at running the football. So I asked him, like, how does it feel to be a part of the big picture of getting this ground game around, especially because his specialty is run blocking. Right. And he goes, it's an honor. Thank you so much, Jason Light. And gave the thumbs up. It was just comical, but like endearing all at the same time. So I think early on, the number one goofball, and I don't mean that in a negative way, the number one silly goose of the Bucs draft class right now is Elijah Klein. But I think that's good for the room. I mean, we see Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke, of course, pal around. And again, it's not like they are not taking their craft seriously. Right. They do. But they also pal around, like, with the bench press and hanging out and having a great relationship with Baker Mayfield as well. So it's everything that you just said about the importance of finding good locker room guys. And it really sounds like Elijah Klein is going to be one. Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me a little bit of Ali Marpet, right? Who had a serious side, but also would come in and play the ukulele. I had flashbacks to when he was on What's Cooking with Mark Cook. It just he's just one of those good guys, and you need guys in that room. Donovan Smith, for example, he was the DJ in the locker room, right?
He was.
So you have like little niche roles for these guys, and I think Klein is going to be one of those locker room personalities. And you know what? It's if the football player matches the football person, then they might have a steal in the 6th round. We'll see. I mean, we got to put pads on first and all that.
Sure. Yeah, he's got to make the team. Yeah. He's got to prove it as a player, but the personality is also a plus. Yeah. It's not a guarantee he's going to make this team, but a good start.
Yeah, exactly. And this is my 30th rookie mini camp that I've been to, and the one lesson I've learned is you can draw very little conclusions from rookie minicamp. It's kind of like the first impression with these guys. And we know that the draft picks, they're going to be on this team through training camp, and we only have, one set of eyes each. And we did not, we weren't able to watch all the tryout guys. I can't sit there and say, oh yeah, this tryout guy looked great or whatever.
Yeah.
They're going to sign who they're going to sign. But there were some familiar faces that that an old timer like myself who's been here a while, Matt.
Yeah.
I remember Brad Culpepper when he was a player for the Bucs. This is Brad Culpepper's son, Judge Culpepper, who's actually bigger than Brad Culpepper. I think Brad Culpepper would have some football body jealousy from his son here, because Brad was a defensive tackle for the Florida Gators, and then started with the Minnesota Vikings, played from 94 to, I want to say, 99 with the Buccaneers, and was a great compliment to Warren Sapp. I mean, Brad Culpepper at about 265, 270 pounds was a nose tackle, believe it or not, but very strong, very agile. And he just was a great locker room character. I mean, talk about one of the most wacky, off the wall, engaging dudes. Brad Culpepper was that guy. Now, I didn't have a chance to talk to Judge Culpepper, but it's interesting. Brad's an attorney here in Tampa, Culpepper Curland, free plug. And his son's name is Judge, right, which speaks to his law. And Brad Culpepper actually got his law degree while he was a member of the Buccaneers in the 90s. Very, very smart, dedicated guy who was playing football and then went on to get his law degree while playing in the NFL. Very hard to do. But this is unfortunately a torso picture, but this guy's thighs and lower body, it's unreal. I mean, he looks the part of a defensive tackle in terms of his lower body. And again, the picture does it no justice. But that was an interesting guy for me, being an old timer, because I covered his dad back in 95 and throughout the 90s. And if you remember Chidi Hanatu, former Bucs defensive end on that Tony Dungy, Warren Sapp, Brad Culpepper offense, this is his son, Mayan Hanatu. So it's crazy to walk in the building, in my mid-20s, covering some of these guys who were in their mid-20s, and now they have college-age kids, as I do. But man, time flies. And here's Mayan Hanatu, who is not signed. Culpepper is signed, but Mayan is in for a tryout. And it's going to be kind of hard to crack that room, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Because when you look at the depth chart, we talked about it a little bit on our last Pewter Report podcast. A lot of guys from last year, actually everybody from last year back, right? Starting from Vita Vea, Kalijah Cansey, Greg Gaines, Logan Hall, Will Golston. That's 5. They're going to keep 6. Is there an open spot? Is it going to be Mike Green again? CJ Brewer, who was on the practice squad, was invited to.
Yep, he was there as well.
Or is it going to be someone like Judge Culpepper? We'll see. But very hard room to crack, and we'll see if Hanatu ends up making the training camp roster as a signee if he has a good enough weekend, and then we'll see if Culpepper ends up sticking because he is already signed. Yeah,
it's almost like a video game. It's like you can't get to level 2 until you beat level 1. And for guys like Hanatu and Culpepper, it's getting that invite to. Well, Culpepper got signed, but ultimately getting invited to training camp and making impact at training camp.
Right.
It's funny with Culpepper because we were looking at him, and all the other defensive linemen they're all in the same group. They're hanging out just like Vita Vea and Logan Hall and everyone else would. And you could just see how different Culpepper looked size-wise, back end-wise, caboose-wise, compared to some of the other players that were over there.
He does not skip leg day. Let's just say that.
No, he does not at all. And the last thing about Judge Culpepper, I saw Greg Auman tweet this. I don't know if it's true or if he was just kind of like doing a pun type of joke, but apparently Brad also has a daughter named Honor, so his kids are Judge and Honor.
Correct.
I didn't know if that was because Greg Auman likes to do that a lot with the puns and things like that. But I guess he really loves the law.
He does. Well. He is a law and order kind of guy.
Yeah,
and it certainly fits that he became a lawyer in his post football career. So also was on Survivor, a series of Survivor.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow, I got to check out that episode.
Yeah, and matter of fact, I think his wife was also on Survivor as well. I think it was a husband and wife situation. So Monica, I believe.
What a career!
Yeah.
Wow, that's all over the place.
Yep.
So sticking with the trenches, if we go, I know we just spoke about Elijah Klein. Obviously, Graham Barton. It's exciting to see Graham Barton. I'm not going to bring all this. Oh my God, he was incredible and everything like that. They're linemen. They're working on hitting pads. They're not blocking other people. I will say it was nice to see Graham Barton just out there like snapping, shotgun. He obviously was working at playing center during
Yeah.
this draft process. I thought it was interesting. I don't know how much water this holds because there's no current Bucs players there, but you had Barton at center, and then Elijah Klein was playing right guard. He was lining up at right guard next to Graham Barton instead of left guard, which I found a little bit interesting because we think, at least we think going in, that Cody Mauch would be the starting right guard, and then it's kind of a competition that Elijah Klein would be in, having him go for left guard with Opeta and Bradison and some of the other guys. So it got me thinking a little bit. It kind of goes back to what John Spytek said, where like Cody Mauch's going to factor in somewhere, just like Graham Barton will. And I don't know. That just made me think a little bit. Like, should we read into that at all that Elijah Klein was at right guard, or is it just, hey, we're going to play you here because we only have so many people?
Well, and the other thing too is Klein was a right guard, right, at UTEP.
Yeah,
and so maybe they're starting him off on a comfortability type of situation where like, hey, let's not make you a fish out of the water on day one. We'll put you at right guard. We'll cross train you at left guard because obviously he's going to be able to play both. And then see how it goes. But, it's one thing to go, and we've seen some of these players, whether it's Robert Hainsey go from right tackle to center, or Luke Gedeke from right guard to left, or I should say right tackle to left guard. And we've seen Cody Mauch go from left tackle to right guard. Yeah. Tristan Wirfs from right tackle to left tackle. It is like, using your other hand to wipe your butt, as Tristan Wirfs has said.
He did.
It's difficult. It's not natural. It takes a little bit of like, your brain telling your hands and your feet what to do, right, with your steps and your footwork and hands placement. So he'll be cross trained at both. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, I saw that as well, and I think it's only a matter of time before he'll see some time at both sides. But yeah, I think Klein was a right guard at UTEP, and it might be a situation where they say, you know what, Matt Filer was a left guard in the NFL, and we wanted to put him where he was most comfortable. Yeah, and you're a rookie, you're kind of a ball of clay, Cody Mauch, last year, so we're going to just put you at a right guard because we traded Shaq Mason. We have a hole there, so maybe your right guard was the hole last year that Cody Mauch filled. And I would like to see Mauch and Gedeke, as I said on the show the other day, stay on the right side because I think they formed some really good chemistry down the second half of the season, down the stretch. But it might be a thing where Cody Mauch might be a better left guard than he is a right guard because he played left tackle in college. Maybe that's a little bit more natural for him with the steps and the hand placement, etc., because he's just moving from left tackle to left guard essentially. And we've seen Ali Marpet play left tackle, then he started a right guard in his NFL career, then he played center in 2017. And then he finally finished up his career playing next to Donovan Smith at left guard, and I think he was good at either guard spot, but he made Donovan Smith better at left tackle because Marpet's just a hell of a player. So it'll be interesting to see how they shuffle it around, Matt. I agree.
Yeah, the Bucs do. Obviously, they cross-train everybody. They cross-train safeties. They, they do it with some corners as well, and they do it on the offensive line, as we'll see with Graham Barton. They say they view him as a center, but you never know. Could end up playing guard if it works out best for the Buccaneers. I will say, just watching Barton outside of like snapping, you can see the athleticism on him. Again, I'm not going to say this is the greatest practice of all time because he's just moving around, but you could see why he's a first-round pick. Like even just warm-ups, him sprinting, him doing the jumps and the calisthenics and like, okay, you got to sprint for 10 seconds and then like do the rest of your stretching. You just see him fire off the ball, fire off the snap, and everything like that, where everyone else kind of looks like they're going in slow motion. I'm talking about offensive linemen, of course. You could see why Jason Light and the Bucs front office kind of fell in love with this guy because the quickness is for a lineman is off the charts, and it's really cool to see because there's not so much you're going to be able to find out and take away from an offensive lineman in Bucs rookie minicamp, but that was really cool to see. Was able to tell from a little further away just watching him.
Yeah, that's great insight, Matt. You're right. And I think to maybe take that a step further, it's like, and we've heard this from the players. We've certainly heard it from the offensive line coaches. We've talked to, whether it was Harold Goodwin in years past, Joe Gilbert, or Kevin Carberry this year. When you move from tackle inside, whether it's Hainsey to center, from right tackle at Notre Dame, or Cody Mauch from left tackle to right guard, or in this case, Barton from left tackle at Duke to center, the action happens so much quicker because the defensive tackle is literally inches away from you.
Right.
Where when you're in your pass set as a left tackle, you've got some space to work with. You're backing up as the guy's charging, right? And you're trying to kind of to form that pocket, and the angles that you're trying to force that edge to run the arc and get around you, right? Or to set you out so wide to come inside. And so you've got a lot more space to work with on the outside than you do on the inside. It's so quick, it's sudden, it's now. And that's why I don't care who you are, whether you're Ali Marpet or whether you're Alex Capo or Cody Mauch, anybody that's gone and transitioned from left tackle to inside the interior offensive line. It's so challenging because the defensive tackles are on you in an instant. And Matt, what you just spoke to, I think speaks really well of Graham Barton's ability, I think, to really translate his skills to center, because he is so quick, he is so sudden, he is so twitchy, that's what you need to be able to be successful on the inside, whether it's a guard or center. And I'm with you. I think that was certainly noticeable today. We're not going to get a full evaluation of any of these guys in the trenches on either side of the ball till the pads come on a training camp. But yeah, that first step, quick twitch, athleticism is certainly noticeable from Graham Barton.
Right. I think that's pretty much all we can say about the offensive line and the linemen. Here's where they were lining up, and this is how quickly that Graham Barton was able to move. Now, there were some more quick twitch guys there. Bucky Irving was in attendance, Jaylen McMillan, Devin Culp, obviously some defensive guys, Tyke Smith we'll talk about. But I love this comment from Brian S. Brian must have watched the press conference from earlier with Bucky Irving, because Bucky was the first Bucs rookie to speak to us today. And Brian S. says, Bucky Irving cares about nothing, LMAO. Jersey number, don't care. Role on the team, don't care. Talk to teammates, don't care. Is your name actually Bucky? Don't care. Hilarious comment. Bucky was nonchalant, but again, not in a way where he doesn't care about football. Because he got asked a couple of things, like, have you talked to the Bucs about what your role is with the team? And he said, no, I haven't, because I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. Like whether I was at Minnesota or whether I was at Oregon, I just did and went where the coaches told me to what to do and where to be. And he said that's kind of the same mentality I'm going to have when I'm here with the Buccaneers. Like, the only thing I can control is how I play and what my effort is. And I think that kind of speaks to Bucky Irving's college resume of being difficult to take off his feet. And he said he runs with a chip on his shoulder because people view him as like this little small guy. And unfortunately, that is how a lot of people view him because of his size. But he's here to prove people wrong. So I thought that was funny. He's like, I was this number at school. I'll be this number with the Bucs.
He doesn't care about that. He likes ball. He loves ball. That's all that matters, is just playing football. And he's a very competent guy. That's one of those traits. I wrote about it in today's SR's Fab 5, which I dropped in the chat. It's that I am that man draft philosophy, right? It's the five traits that they look for are accountable, competitive, confident, which Bucky Irving is like chock full of.
Yes.
Passionate and resilient. What you don't see in those five traits are athleticism, size, strength, speed, agility. Like those you need to be successful as a high-end athlete in the NFL, but that will make you a football player, as John Gruden would say. Good enough to be in the league, but are you a player or a playa? A playa is a guy that that likes to be known as I'm a football player. I got the jersey, I'm on the team, going to the clubs, getting ladies, whatever, like the lifestyle. Those guys don't last long.
Correct.
I think Devin White was started off as a football player, and I think he became a football playa at the end of his career. And that's why, he wanted $20 million a year, and he ended up getting like less than $6 million, right? So, and not in Tampa Bay. So Bucky is a football player. He's all about playing ball. Don't care what the number is. Don't care how many snaps I get. Don't care what my role on the team is. When my number's called, I'm going to produce, and I'm going to make the first guy miss. And it's like, you love that about him. Like that confidence just comes off. It's this really like humble swagger. It's like a humble brag about it.
Humble swagger, I think is the perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
Between Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, they got some chill dudes in the running back room. They have some very, very chill dudes. So as far as being on the field today for practice when it came to Bucky Irving, didn't see a ton from him. That's not saying that he did like anything negative, but they barely ran the football. So I'm not going to sit here and say, wow, those individual running back drills when he, high stepped it over the pads on the ground, he looked great. I mean, he looked smooth running. He maybe caught one pass during the passing drill, so I can't sit here and say, wow, like he caught one football. What a spectacular outing for Bucky Irving. But again, that's unless it's a highlight play, there's not going to be a crazy amount that totally stand out from this. So I thought it was good to talk to Bucky. Yep. I was a little surprised because I was watching some of the punt returns and Bucky's down to do it, but they didn't have him over there. I don't know if that's just like a one-day thing. They did have Jaylen McMillan over there, but I didn't see Bucky Irving. So we'll see a lot more from Bucky as we get closer to training camp and OTAs and things like that. But for those that wanted an update to see how Bucky did, he ran it a couple times. Difficult to say whether it was a good or a bad run based on our vantage point where we were standing from and with offensive linemen just unable to block. So
yeah, exactly. As Brian S. says, Bucky Irving's attitude is perfect for a running back. Give me the ball, and I don't care about anything else. Good blocking from O-line, don't care. Inside or outside, don't care. Special teams, don't care. So it's it's a good mentality to have, and as Matthew Sam says, not much for a running back to do in underwear practice, and that's very true. The Bucs will work, they'll go through the motions, they'll do the placement, the steps, where you're supposed to go in the offseason in terms of the run game, but we're not going to really understand this run game until until the pads come on in training camp. That's really where you hone in on the running game. But at the same time, this is going to be a much more diverse running playbook with more plays, which is good. So they are installing some things. It's just a matter of evaluating the offensive line, evaluating the running backs. That's going to take place a little bit more in training camp when the pads come on.
And the last thing for me about the running game, whether it's Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, Chase Edmonds, doesn't really matter who's in there. One thing Sean Wall says, Bucky is going to be a freaking That is good. Shout out Sean for that one.
Shout out Bucky's.
Shout out Bucky's. I love Bucky's.
It's the best travel stop around.
I got my I thought I had something on my desk here, but I got my Bucky's.
You always get your Bucky's
neck pillow thing, like when you're going on a flight or whatever. I have that. I can see it from where I am. But shout out Bucky's. Absolutely.
If you haven't been to a Bucky's, you haven't lived. We always stop at Bucky's on the way.
Those are the only 2 times in my life that I've been to Bucky's is when we come back from the Senior Bowl. And don't get me wrong, I had a good time at the Senior Bowl, but I don't think I smiled harder than when we went to Bucky's.
It's hard to beat. It just is.
I can't wait to go back to Bucky's again soon. But the last thing I want to say about the run game, what I'm excited to see is because that there's going to be so much motion and 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, how they line up. There's going to be many, in the context of it, simple runs of just, I know it's zone blocking, but hey, like the design here is between the guard and tackle or whatever it may be. They may call that, let's just say, for argument's sake, 20 times. Half of it's going to look different almost every single time because the different type of motion, who they're sending on one play, where they're lining up on the field, on the left or the right side in that thing. So you may have 20 plays with 14 different looks, on the same run from guard to tackle. So I'm very excited for that aspect of it, especially in training camp.
That's a great point, Matt. And the other thing with zone blocking is you typically have a designed hole, but the beauty of it is you don't know, just like the defense doesn't know what play the offense is going to run. The offense doesn't know what defense they're going to be facing, right? Is the line going to slant into the zone, right? If it's a zone left, are they slanting in that gap and following those gaps, or are they slanting away from it, which could open up some different opportunities? So you can have the same run play, but depending on the defense and how it's blocked, it could be a completely different situation where Bucky might, or Rachaad White, might take that first hole that's available, right? And it might be the B gap on the left side of the formation. If it just opens up. In other words, you see the crease, you take it, you're at the second level. Or might be a thing where if that defensive tackle is filling that gap, then you continue on along, and then it almost becomes like an off tackle play, right, with your zone run. So that's kind of the beauty of zone, even more so than the man blocking. It's a kind of a moving wall of offensive line. The Bucs ran it some last year. I don't know that they had the personnel to necessarily do it, but we're going to see some more diverse runs. It's not going to be just mid zone. It's going to be some outside zone, some wide zone too, which is more of the Rams staple when it comes to the
It's pretty much the example of one door closes, another door opens. Exactly. It's kind of like, Scott, where, you're looking, say you're at a store and you're looking and you want this specific flavor of Celsius, but it's sold out. You're unable to get it. But the beauty is there's so many awesome flavors of Celsius that maybe if the Galaxy vibe is out, you can get the Astro vibe and you're still going to enjoy the delicious flavors that Celsius has. We keep the vibes very high on this show. The Cosmic vibe's fantastic as well. The Arctic vibe is my personal favorite. There's great flavors of Celsius and tons all over the country. So if you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, go to the Celsius store locator on the Celsius website, punch in your address. It'll tell you the closest place where you can pick one up. Could be a 7-Eleven, a Walmart, Target, health and fitness store, or it could be your bodega. And once you keep going to your bodega and you're like, I want to start getting more of this and get it in bulk, you can buy it in bulk. Go to Amazon, click on the subscribe and save. I'd recommend purchasing the variety pack because there's so many great flavors, and variety is the spice of life. And the cool thing is, once you buy it, you can have it sent to your place of residence really whenever you want. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jaylen McMillan.
Sure.
How I think really kind of won the press conference today.
Yes.
I'll say this about McMillan. He looked bigger in person than I expected him to be. I mean, he is every bit of 6'1". I think he almost looks like 6'2", but he's 6'1", bumping 200 pounds. Maybe not as, his guns aren't as ablazing as Chris Godwin's, right? Godwin's about 6'1", about 205, 208. And I think Godwin's probably got him by about 8 pounds. But McMillan, just, the eyeball test, just kind of, he looks like a bigger receiver than I was expecting. He looked a little skinnier on tape for some reason. And I just expected like a little bit smaller of a receiver. But he's got some good size to him. I can see why he thrived in the middle and playing in the zone, because he's big enough to do some damage in there. But as he mentioned today during his presser, the first 2 years at Washington, he did play outside. He did play flanker, that Z receiver, which is where Josh Capo pretty much said, hey, he's probably going to be this. If Godwin's going to move inside, he's probably going to play outside at the Z, which is the flanker receiver, because that's the open position in this Liam Cohen offense, with Mike Evans playing the split end or the X receiver. So you got the split end X, which is Evans. You've got that slot receiver, which is Godwin, playing the Y, and then you've got the Z receiver, which is the flanker, and that's going to be a battle between Trey Palmer as well as McMillan. And of course, with Liam Cohen, you're going to be rotating guys in and out as well to try to find those matchups that you want. But by and large, Godwin will be in the slot. I think by and large, McMillan's going to be outside.
Yeah, I'm glad he answered that too, because it was something I wasn't necessarily concerned about, but it's just something to wonder. A guy that played his last year of college football primarily in the slot, all of a sudden he's just not going to be playing the slot as his main objective as a wide receiver this year. Is just, something to be curious about for sure. But he obviously made sure everybody knew that he has played the outside and will play the outside. And we even saw him line up a little bit outside today. He did line up in the slot as well. So the Bucs were moving him around. A couple matchups against Tyke Smith as well.
Yeah.
He did make a nice catch, not while Tyke Smith was lined up against him, but it was a throw he went in motion and then ran to the right side, I'd say about like 10 to 15 yards down the field. It was more by the numbers than I would say than the sideline, but he made a very nice like jumping catch, came down with it. You could see the athleticism there. It kind of felt like he was floating in the air for a moment or two. So like I said, the athleticism, the ability to go after and get the ball. They went back to him with the screenplay, which he did a lot at Washington, a couple of plays after. So McMillan, I would say overall had a pretty good first day of Bucs rookie minicamp. In terms of highlight plays, I would put his jumping catch as one of the more highlight moments of the afternoon. And I think it's important to get him going, not just in rookie minicamp, obviously, but get him going early in these OTAs and training camp because, there was a great point made. I think it was the last question that was asked to him. I believe Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times asked him about his thoughts on the fact that, the Bucs are going to be counting on Jaylen McMillan a good amount. Like, obviously, Mike and Chris, but in terms of that third guy, it's going to be Jaylen McMillan. And, it's a big ask for a guy that's a rookie and not a, first round pick, a top 10 pick or something like that. They may end up putting a lot on Jaylen McMillan's shoulders. And I'm not saying that he's not up for the task. I'm just saying it's a big responsibility. And I really liked his response. You can see it on our social media and everything where he said, I'm looking forward to putting on a show for y'all.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's up to the challenge.
Yeah. I liked what he said too. He's like, at Washington, they told us it's like make the plays that make the stadium go boom, and put on a show. And that's certainly what they did. Michael Penix, Roma Dunze, Jalen Polk, Jaylen McMillan, Jack Westover, the tight end, the other tight end, Devin Culp, who's a Buccaneer.
Yep.
They put on a show. They got all the way to the national championship, and they just ran into a buzzsaw of a defense, Michigan Wolverines. But hell of a season, really the last 2 years at Washington. Really good brand of football. And the Buccaneers drafted a couple more Huskies. One of those guys is Devin Culp, the tight end. Yeah. Brian, and it says, can't believe McMillan has to room with Culp. $500 million in annual revenue, and can't players have their own hotel room? Shake my head. Well, I'll say this. They room together for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's about holding each other accountable as players. And these guys, especially like McMillan and Culp, they know each other. They're already good friends. They already have that rapport. So you're being thrust into a new city, right? You're a stranger in a strange land.
Yeah.
And so you're in this big transition of life, new city, new team, new teammates, new coaches, new system, etc. It's great to have a familiar face there. And the other thing too is you got to bond with your teammates, whether you know the guys in college or if I'm going to hazard a guess that Elijah Klein and Graham Barton are probably rooming together, right?
Would make sense.
And so you want those guys to be able to study the playbook together, to get to know each other, form chemistry, form camaraderie. That's part of being on a team. So that's very much a staple in a practice. You're not going to see guys have their own room unless they're like established vets, right? Like Tristan Wirfs.
Devontae David should have his own room.
Exactly. Mike Evans, for sure. Chris Godwin, for sure. Baker Mayfield, etc. But some of the younger players, they're going to have roommates. They're going to have roommates in training camp. They're going to have roommates, on the road. etc. And that's part of it. But that's building team chemistry, getting to know your teammates, camaraderie. That's all part of it. And the thing is you know what? If you like your guys that you're with, right? It's like you shouldn't have a problem rooming with them for a couple weeks, right? And these guys are fresh out of college too. They're used to having roommates or dorm mates or whatever.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Scott. And I think it is important for what you pointed out. With the exception of McMillan and Culp, who know each other and were teammates on another team, you're bringing all of these guys to a new city that some of them, like Grant Barton, had never been to before until getting drafted by the Buccaneers. If I just had to get up and move, say somehow hypothetically I got put into a reporter draft and Denver drafted me and I had to get up and move to Denver. Can you imagine just going into that like completely on your own, alone? Like, no, I'd rather like either have a roommate or I don't know, Bailey got drafted too and me and Bailey are going. Like I'd rather at least have someone I know or have someone that's kind of going through the same thing of being drafted and going somewhere else.
Exactly.
I think that's important. So yeah, camaraderie is super important. Going through a new experience with other people that are sharing in a similar situation in of itself, I think is really important. And yeah, it's a great way to bond. I think Baker Mayfield and Tristan Wirfs, they talked about how much their relationship grew because they all stayed in a quad together during training camp or whatever it was, and their relationship grew so much.
Gedeke, Wirfs, Hainsey, and Baker Mayfield. Like all four of those guys were in a quad during training camp. You know, each had their own room, but the same common area they shared,
had a common area,
kitchen, living room, and all that, right? And it's like you heard that Todd Bowles said that, you know, Baker Mayfield is an offensive lineman trapped in a quarterback's body, the way he plays. And like that makes perfect sense because why wouldn't you want your quarterback and center kind of being roommates, right? And then the two bookend tackles that are protecting his blind side and his front side. Why wouldn't you want those guys more so than anybody else being Baker Mayfield's roommates during training camp? And there's a lot of thought that goes into this, and I think it's well thought out by the coaches. And you know, when you're older, you get to have the rooms by yourself, but not even in training camp. I mean, it's really on the road that you have, you know, those rooms to yourself. But you have to kind of earn that though. So it's
and the last thing on that
in the NFL.
When Baker Mayfield got the phone call that his new contract was done and just needed to be signed. Where was Baker Mayfield? He was out at either dinner or getting drinks with Tristan Wirfs and their respective wives. He was out with the offensive tackle. So, you know, bond was formed then, and we'll see with this rookie class who else forms a bond based on this situation.
I'm going to be completely transparent. I have formed a bond with Christopher Lugo. It's a great transition.
That's a fantastic transition.
Thank you, Mark Cook, for
that's a Mark Cook
teaching me well. But it's the God's honest truth. I mean, I consider Christopher Lugo not just my primary care physician, but also a friend of mine. That's how well I've gotten to know him just in less than a year and a couple of visits to see him. So are you tired of feeling like just another number in the waiting room? Does your primary care physician actually take the time to get to know you? Or are they just on to the next person as quickly as they can diagnose whatever you're in there to see him for? Well, that's not going to happen at the Bay Area Modern Medical Center in Tampa. That's where they believe that you deserve the personalized care that puts your health and well-being first. Meet Christopher Lugo, PA, with over 24 years of medical expertise as a primary care provider. He is dedicated to your overall health, but that's not all. Christopher Lugo specializes in weight loss, anti-aging, hormone replacement therapy, including testosterone. So men, listen up. Testosterone treatments, they can be affordable. I know because I get my testosterone treatments from Christopher Lugo. It is affordable, way less than I was paying at other places. And it certainly has made a huge difference in my life. So don't let age slow you down. Reclaim your vitality. Get back to feeling great. Turn back the clock with the consultation at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. So if you don't believe me, okay, well, here's what I want you to do. Go to BAMMC.com and explore the range of testosterone and weight loss treatments, and better yet, make an appointment. Go talk to Christopher, get that consultation, and see what he has to say. Christopher believes in practicing concierge medicine. That means no waiting rooms, No rushing through appointments. Imagine a doctor who takes the time to go through your extensive lab results, discusses your diet and exercise plan, and provides personalized vitamin and supplement recommendations to optimize your health. I'm 52. I'm feeling great, and I'm going to attribute a lot of that to Christopher Lugo. So same-day appointments are available for your convenience. So take my word for it, folks. I cannot recommend Bay Area Modern Medical Center enough. Get ready to experience modern healthcare that revolves around you. Book your appointment today at BAMMC.com or give Christopher a call at 1-844-789-2266. That's Bay Area Modern Medical Center. And that's where your health is the top priority.
I will say just a couple of other plays that stood out to me from practice today. Devin Culp, you certainly saw the speed that John Spytek was talking about. He had one play. The right side seemed to be where everything was going on today in the passing game. I wouldn't call it a go route by any means, but it was certainly 15 yards down the field. The quarterback hit Devin Culp. You saw him separate because of the speed, and they did one of those, like, okay, he would have been tackled like a yard or two after getting the football, but he sprinted it out because obviously you're a rookie and you're trying to make an impression on the coaches.
Right.
You can see the speed on Devin Culp, and I can see the Bucs using him in a situation. I'm not comparing him to Jimmy Graham by any means, but Jimmy Graham in his heyday, it's like, okay, he's a tight end, but he's really just another receiver. He's the passing target for the team. I could see Devin Culp kind of used in a situation where, all right, Cade Otton needs a break. Payne Durham, if he doesn't pan out, but if he does, then, different situation. Keith, you're certainly not going to use him in the passing game. I could see Devin Culp getting a couple of snaps here and there because of his speed alone. You want to put him in motion. You want to try to get him in some different areas where maybe he has a little bit of a better matchup based on, who's trying to defend him on the play. I like what I saw from the speed from Devin Culp. He didn't get too many targets, so I'm not I can't say that he, made a ton of plays or made a lot of catches because he didn't really have the stats to back it up as a tight end at Washington. We talked about how, he was tight end too on that team. Yeah. But speed-wise, I really liked what I saw from Devin Culp.
I agree.
There were 2 interceptions on the day. The first one came.
Hold on one second. I've got one little comment to make about Culp. I'm really curious to see how physical he is when the pads come on. I think he can pass protect well. It's going to be in the run game because he might be this year's fool's gold, where like this sets up the OTAs, the rookie minicamp, the mandatory minicamp, where there's no tackling, there's very little physicality, no pads. It is set up for him to excel, like we saw with Jalen Darden, like we saw with Kenny Bell back in the day. Kenny Bell, the old wide receiver who shined in rookie minicamp and the OTAs and even training camp, the non-padded practices. And and once the pads came on, different story. And you know what? Maybe Culp, once the pads come on, what you see is what you get. It's the same type of thing. But this offseason is set up for guys like him to look really good. Now, the thing is you're expected to be, when you're that fast, to look that way. And the good news for him is he did look that way. He looked really fast, and that's good because if he didn't, that'd be a huge red flag, right? But it's one of those things we have to kind of take with a grain of salt, but better to look fast now than to not live up to that 4.47 time.
Fully agree with you. I think the biggest worry or intrigue or whatever you want to call it is when the pads do come on. How is he from a physical standpoint? Can he block or will he just get completely run over? It actually reminds me a little bit, and the speed's different, but in terms of being more of a receiving tight end that couldn't necessarily get it done as a blocker, is Tanner Hudson, who was with the Bucs for a
great point.
Was on that Super Bowl team. He lit it up with Ryan Griffin in the preseason. They were like Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison.
He led the NFL in catches and yards in the preseason.
It was Brady to Moss or Manning to Marvin Harrison. In the preseason between Ryan Griffin and Tanner Hudson.
Right.
And Bruce Arians was the first guy, not even the first guy, just every single time Tanner Hudson, good receiver, but he's got to be able to effing block. We all know how Bruce Arians talks. And he said he's not going to make this team unless he could start blocking. That's why he always fluctuated from the practice squad to the main roster. Almost had that touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then ended up going to San Fran and I think another team or two. He couldn't get the blocking side of it done at tight end. And unless you're an all-level, all-professional receiver like Jimmy Graham was, it's not going to fly for Devin Culp. So that's really the biggest thing for Devin Culp. Can you hold up on that side of it?
Exactly. And you know what? We saw Cam Brate transform his body because Brate gained about 10 to 12 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
And he hit the weight room and hit it hard. And he kind of maxed out his frame. And he became a better blocker because he was dedicated to the weight room. Tanner Hudson was not dedicated to the weight room. He showed up every year to training camp looking like the same guy, like he was allergic to the weight room. And it didn't work out well for him. So we'll see if Devin Culp can go from 231 to maybe 241 at some point in time in his career and become a little bit bigger because he's going to have to do that. There's going to be some times with those inline blocks where you're going to have, enough oomph to get the job done. And right now, we'll see when the pads come on how much oomph he actually has to work with.
Yeah, so that will be that'll be a point of note for us as all these practices go on. Speaking of oomph, a couple of plays of oomph.
Are you about to tell me that Tyke Smith had an interception in his first practice as a Buccaneer? Is that what you're about to tell me, Matthew?
I was about to bring up the interceptions because there were two. So, yes, technically I was going to bring up Tyke Smith.
Shocker.
The first interception that happened earlier on in practice was actually by inside linebacker Julius Wilkerson, who was a camp invite, played at Davenport. So, shout out to Davenport. Wilkerson over the middle, kind of throwing right to him. But, hey, you got to make the play when it comes to you. Probably the headlining moment was Tyke Smith, who lined up everywhere in practice today.
Yep.
He was back at free safety. He lined up in the slot as well, a discussion that we've had, playing nickel, playing free safety, being cross-trained, all that good stuff. I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me correctly, he was at free safety on this play.
Right.
But it was a ball over the middle, I'd say 20 to 25 yards down the field. Tyke Smith cut across. I wouldn't necessarily define it as a one-handed catch, but he went up as like a one-handed catch, tipped the football, and then caught it for an interception and went the other way. It was everything we've talked about with Tyke Smith. Great football IQ, instincts, fundamentals, takes the ball away, and he gets an interception on his first practice as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. You love to see it.
Yep.
Making a splash play right away. I know it's Bucs rookie minicamp, but you just saw like the leaping ability, getting the hand on the football and coming down with it. Because how many times do we see people, they get a hand on it, they don't come up with the play.
Jamel Dean,
and then they're just, they clap their hands in anger over being close but no cigar. No, he got the whole cigar this time around. So Tyke Smith, who we spoke to today as well, a great play and exciting.
He's one of those guys that is, as a scout, as a personnel guy, when you invest a draft pick in him, it's like what you see is what you get. Right?
1,000,000%.
You wanted this guy to be a playmaker, a ball hawk, and like boom, like that's what you see. And how many times, like Nick Rapone, right? We talked to him about Antoine Winfield Jr. and those plays where he's tracking down Desmond Ridder at the goal line and punching the ball out and taking that angle and at the goal line in Carolina in week 18, forcing a fumble. Right. And it's like, and Rapone says he does that every day in practice. Like what you see in the games, he does that in practice all the time. The sacks, the interceptions, the forced fumbles, the fumble recoveries, like, and what you see is what you get with Antoine Winfield Jr. And boy, if Tyke Smith is another one of those caliber players, I don't think he's as good as Winfield. He's a third-round pick, not a second-round pick, right? I love Tyke Smith. But, man, if this guy is what you see is what you get, he was a ball hawk at Georgia. He is a good fit for this defense. There's some real similarities between Todd Bowles' defense and Kirby Smart's defense at Georgia. And you talk about first impressions, Matt. He made a good one today.
A fantastic first impression. I like what Matthew Sams had to say with 23 repping the MJ number properly. Yeah, it was a great play. It was everything that the Bucs kind of asked for with Tyke Smith, and he answered early on.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, as awesome as my transition was before, it's Friday afternoon. It was hot today. I'm fading fast a little bit. I don't have a great transition for this next advertiser, but
I got an idea, Scott. I think Tyke Smith has some real estate in the heads of the quarterbacks that he's going against.
I think you're right, but I think more so than anything, I think I just need to get on a cruise. It's a weekend, Matt. So I think I'm just going to head on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cruise, which isn't this weekend. It's like in March. They have plenty of time to plan and sign up for it. But check out this from one of our sponsors.
We're on the Bucs cruise. Of course, we're playing pool volleyball.
Hey, we on the Bucs cruise, of course. Anytime I say Tampa, they will say Bay. Tampa! Hey! Tampa!
Hey! Tampa! Hey! We're on the Bucs cruise. Of course, I've got my Super Bowl 37 hardware. What do you think?
We're on the Bucs cruise, and of course we had a pirate night. Arr!
Arr!
Join the fun with hundreds of Bucs fans on the 3rd annual Tampa Bay Bucs cruise that sets sail March 7th through 10th in 2025 on the beautiful Celebrity Silhouette ship. The 3-night cruise begins in Fort Lauderdale, visits Key West and Bimini, Bahamas. Last year's cruise had Yaya Diaby, Rashad White, Luke Gedeke, Kate Otten, Jamel Dean, Super Bowl 37 MVP Dexter Jackson, Hall of Famer Warren Sapp, Gene Deckerhoff, and others. Even more players are expected next year, as well as a special guest appearance by Mr. Derek Brooks, yet another Bucs Hall of Famer. There will be photo and autograph opportunities with the players, a raise the flag sail away party, VIP parties with the players, special player interviews, a water volleyball challenge, Bucs trivia contest, fun games. Oh, and the Pewter Report staff's going to be there too. So come join us on the Tampa Bay Bucs cruise next March. Reserve your cabin now. The 2025 Tampa Bay Bucs cruise, where drinks, including alcohol, folks, Wi-Fi and tips are all included with a $200 deposit per person. That's it. Refundable until August 16th. So reserve your spot today. The ship is selling out fast. Visit TampaBayBucsCruise.com. That's TampaBayBucsCruise.com or call 1-800-975-7112. Matt, if you are a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, why wouldn't you sign up for the Bucs cruise? And why wouldn't you join the nearly 14,000 Pewter people that have subscribed to PewterReport.com? We are less than 50 away from hitting 14,000. That's our YouTube channel, Matt. Where else can you find great Bucs content?
Yeah, you can find us all over our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We already have videos posted from today, speaking to some of the players, and of course, being out at practice. We get to film for the first half hour of practice. So already got stuff up on our social media. We'll have much more as well. You can follow us at Pewter Report, like I said, on all of our social media places. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. And as fun as today was watching practice, seeing what was going on, we're going to watch practice again tomorrow and recap it all on Monday's show.
That's right. A couple of comments here from Nathan Elliott about the cruise. The boat was clean. The food was good. Plenty of things to do with Bucs players and staff. And then our own good friend, J.C. Allen, a former Pewter reporter. Scott, they have a build-your-own old-fashioned bar you're going to love on the cruise. J.C. was on the cruise last year. We'll be on it again this year probably. And we're going to be joining him as well. So make sure that you sign up for the Tampa Bay Bucs cruise. Should be a good time. And as Matt said, join us on Monday. It's always a good time because we do a roll call at 4:20s on Mondays, and we're going to have a recap of Saturday's Bucs rookie minicamp practice.
That is right. So great things are ahead for the show. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. So until Monday, for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.